Herkese merhabalar, hoş geldiniz. İsmim Hüseyin Aydın, Mumbai Ticaret Ateşesi'yim. 2019 Haziran ayından beri. Bugün sizlere ülkemiz için potansiyeli bulunan Hindistan gıda işleme ve gıda işleme makineleri sektörüyle alakalı kısa bir bilgilendirme yapacağız sektörün uzmanlarıyla. Ben öncelikle Türkçe olarak hoş geldin dedikten sonra asıl resmi İngilizce açılışımı yapacağım. Umarım keyifli ve bilgilendirici bir etkinlik gerçekleştiririz. Teşekkürler. My dear colleagues, Yeliz Hanım, Birkan Bey from our Delhi office and Furkan Bey from our Mumbai office. Dear Güçlü Kaplangı Bey, Chairman of the Industrial Kitchen Laundry Service and Catering Equipment Industrialists and Businessmen's Association. Burç Angan Bey, a member of board at Turkish Machinery Exporters Association, and Mr. K.S. Narayan, Principal Consultant of Food Processing at Next Time and Next Time team, and all our participants from India and Turkey, and dear Evren Bey from our ministry. I welcome you all for today's webinar on food processing and food processing machinery market in India. My name is Hüseyin Aydın. I am the commercial attaché of the Turkish Consulate General in Mumbai since June 2019. Within the scope of our Turkish Ministry of Trade, we have organized 7 to 8 different webinars on India market until now. In this way, we are trying to showcase the Indian market in a very realistic and practical manner with significant contributions of the panelists from different sectors. In the first webinar, organized in June 2020, we discussed doing business and branding in India, including imports, procedures, and logistics in the country. The other webinars have been dedicated to IT industry, home and kitchen sectors, Indian e-commerce market, lift and elevator sectors, machine tools, education, consulting, etc. Recordings of the previous webinars are available on the YouTube channel of the Ministry. Today, distinguished panelists and guests are here with us to share their valuable knowledge and experience of the Indian market, which some Turkish companies assume to be very difficult to enter and to be successful. That is why we have decided to organize this webinar with our panelists to raise awareness amongst the Turkish companies in the Indian food processing and food processing machinery market, where we believe our companies have the potential to excel. Today, we will only focus on food processing and food processing equipment in India. The webinar has been divided into 2 sessions. In the first session, after my colleagues' short introduction from Mumbai and Delhi, Burç Bey and Güçlü Bey are going to deliver opening speeches and presentation. And in the second part, Mr. K.S. Narayan and his team will discuss an overview of Indian market across food processing and food processing machineries. They will try to address what are the main drivers behind the markets, imports and distribution scenario, and accessing Indian business opportunities, etc. I am very happy to have very experienced professionals to discuss today's webinar. From the Turkish side, we have associations from the relevant sectors presenting their expertise in Turkish machinery industry as well as food processing equipment. And from the Indian side, we have Mr. K.S. from Next Time, who has many years of expertise in different levels of supply chain of food processing industries. After the presentations by our panelists, we will have a Q&A session. We will request all participants to kindly post their sector-specific questions on the chat screen. We will try to cover as many questions as possible in the given time frame and address the remaining later. I will be moderating the questions and the discussions. I am sure this webinar will be efficient in showcasing the potential of Indian market to our companies and will raise the cooperation between our countries. We hope that after this webinar, participants will have a better understanding about the main drivers behind market growth, why Turkish food companies and food processing machinery companies should target India market, and how you should approach India market with your products and services. Thank you once again to all panelists and participants. Now I am giving the floor to Yeliz Hanım. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Yeliz Gürlek. I am a commercial consular in New Delhi since end of August this year. We have two colleagues here as commercial consular. Mr. Birkan right now is not here. He's having a meeting with Mr. Ambassador right now. So I'm hoping that this meeting will be fruitful for both sides and for everyone attending. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you.
We can, Evren Bey, you can take the floor ahead and you can continue your speech.
Thank you very much, Hüseyin Bey. Mr. K.S. Narayanan, Mr. Angan, Mr. Kaplange, dear commercial counselors, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have you here for this event. This will be a good opportunity for our exporters and audience to learn about Indian food processing and food processing machinery sector. During our event, we will touch upon how Turkish and Indian businesses could successfully work together, and we will try to find the answer to the question, why India? Dear participants, I would like to thank you for your contributions to our efforts to better inform our businesses on food processing sector and encourage them to seize the opportunities working together with Indian business people. Wishing a very inspiring meeting. Now I would like to give the floor again to Commercial Counselor, Mr. Hüseyin Aydın. Floor is yours, Hüseyin Bey.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Now Burç Bey will take the floor ahead and he will give his introduction and also his speech about the Turkish machinery. Thank you.
Hello, I would like to thank all of our participants on behalf of Turkish Machinery Exporters Association. It's a great pleasure for us to meet you here and present our knowledge and share the information of the industry with you. So, Hüseyin Bey, should I continue with my presentation or just the introduction?
So, I mean, you may decide. You can go.
You can go on with your presentation after this introduction, I think.
Okay. So, in that case, I'll be sharing my screen to give you some insight about the Turkish Machinery Exporters Association, what we do, and our opinions about the Indian market. So Turkish Machinery, as we know it, which is the brand of the Turkish Machinery Exporters Association, was established in 2002 in Ankara. It is the only association in which all of the machine exporters are represented right now, with over 20,000 members. And it's been 20 years since the establishment of Machinery Exporters Association. And throughout these years, we have completed a total of 55 trade missions, 170 exhibitions, 90 buyers missions, 700 events, and over 7,000 foreign advertisings. Currently, we are quite focused on twin transformation-oriented projects, and we are focusing on sustainability and environmental projects. India is one of our main focus markets, and we constantly carry promotional activities towards India. So far, we have been focusing on textile and wood industry, as we are representing the whole machine manufacturers of Turkey. And in 2016, we exhibited in ITMA exhibition in India. And in 2018, it was India Wood for woodworking machinery. And in between, we had the pandemic. And right after pandemic, we continued with ITMA exhibition for textile machinery. And we hope to increase our presence for food processing machines as well in the Indian market. When we look at the Turkish machinery industry, we see that it's a constantly growing field of industry. And when we compare it with the rest of the world, we can always see that Turkish machinery has always recorded a growth that is above the global average. When we look at Turkish machinery's trade with India or India's machinery trade by country, we see that India is importing mainly from China, Germany, and United States. And Turkey is on 19th position in terms of machinery trades. And in terms of exports, India is selling to USA, Germany, and Thailand. And Turkey is on 12th position in terms of machinery imports from India. And when we check the trade by product, we see that it's mainly turbojets, propellers, shafts, stops, and valves. So the main stream of the machinery business is not the food industry, but different types of businesses. And when we look at the foreign trade, we see that machinery and accessories is the second largest imports of India from Turkey, while we mostly import energy and metals from the Indian dealers. When we look at the machinery trade between Turkey and India, 2.2% of Turkey's machinery import is coming from Turkey, while only 0.6% of India's machinery import is coming from Turkey, which shows us that there's a huge potential that is to be realized by our companies mutually. And when we look at the food processing machines, right now it's the sixth field of machinery that India is purchasing from Turkey. And in specific with the food processing machinery trade, India is exporting Germany, China, and Italy respectively, and importing from US, Germany, and France. And when we look at the India's machinery trade in specific to food processing machines, it's exporting 1.7 and importing 1.2%, which is quite a good balance actually. And Turkey is selling its food processing machines mostly to Uzbekistan, Iraq, and Russia. And India is on the 6th spot when exporting the food processing machines from Turkey. And food processing machines of Turkey is mainly used for machines for grain and grinding processing machines, machines for purifying water, and bakery machinery. And what we buy is mostly for purifying water and, let me check, bakery machines, sorry, and processing tea leaves. What we export to India is mainly for machines for processing grain and grinding grain, and machinery for processing tea leaves, and dairy machinery. And what we get from India is machines for purifying water, purifying beverages, and again, grain and grinding and processing machines. So India is one of the key partners for food processing sector of Turkey by ranking 6th largest. And Turkey has trade surplus in India with food processing machinery, especially milling machines grab attention by taking the first place. General opinion is India is a sustainable but tough market, and reliable partners are very important to find mutually. And Of course, recent events with global recessions and pandemic has led companies to source from internal market, but we can easily overcome the recent events. There are many European-based companies in India, which leads to high competition, but Turkish companies present a solid alternative to European manufacturers or Western European manufacturers. As a kind of Eastern European manufacturer, Turkish companies can present a good balance of cost and price performance balance. So that was all I have to say about the, let's say, overview of the markets between Turkey and India and how is our association is organizing. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Burç Bey. It is a very well prepared overview on Turkish machinery and also Turkish machinery's engagement with India. You touched upon many points, including food processing machinery. Yes, you are correct. Grain grinding machineries are the leading food processing machinery from our country to India. Mill machines for wheat and rice are doing very well, and we have very successful Turkish companies. And also, I mean, if the other Turkish companies from the other sectors, if they look into India market, I think they can also have the same potential in food processing machinery. Thank you. Now we are giving the floor to Güçlü Kaplangı Bey.
Thank you very much, dear commercial counselors, dear Mr. Subaşı, dear guests from our Indian counterparts, and dear participants. I would like to thank you very much on behalf of TUSIT, the Manufacturers Association for Food Service, Laundry and Serving Equipments. TUSIT has been established in 1991. Right now we have more than 325 manufacturers in Turkey who are exporting to more than 150 countries all over the world. From last year's figures, we are exporting in all food service items, including the tableware, cutlery, and glassware, around $6.3 billion, and we have an import of $2.3 billion. So we are giving $4 billion surplus in this sector. When it comes to food processing industry and food service equipments, we are exporting to $2.4 billion last year, and we had $2.2 billion surplus with only $200 million import. So our expertise in food service equipment is quite important, and we are right now ranking number 5 in the world in food service equipments industry after China, US, Germany, and Italy. I would like to say that food is getting more crucial and important for all of us, for all the world, and for all the human beings. So we have to be very careful by processing the food, not only processing, by preserving, processing, and serving the food. That's why our association, our manufacturers, have a quite unique expertise, starting up from the cold chain, cold rooms, refrigeration, processing the equipments, and also serving the equipments. Just to give 2 small examples, if you are going to make at home potatoes, you can peel the potatoes with your hand, maybe 1 kilo potatoes. But after you peel it, and if you do it with your hand, you are going to get 750, 780 grams of potatoes. But if you do it with a potato peeling machine, you can do it per hour 500 kilos, but only with 3% scrap. So the difference, with the less of waste, and with all this income, you can serve more people and feed more people. Or if you make a barbecue at your home, you go to butcher and get 1 kilo meat. After you cook it, you eat only 650 grams of meat. But if you cook this meat with a combi oven that we are producing and exporting, you are going to have only 8% scrap, and you are going to have 920 grams. So if you revert that information to a restaurant who is going to use maybe 300, 400 kilos meat per week, or to a hotel who is going to consume tons of kilos of meat, or in an army base. So I can increase these examples. So with Turkish manufacturers of food service equipment, globally, we serve and we help the investors, all the HoReCa business players, to reduce their costs, increase the output, increase the turnover, and also increase the profit margin. That's why I would like to be very happy for this meeting, because India is a great market, a huge market with 29 states and 1.4 billion of population, that we can join our forces and get more market share, and will have for sure equivalent products in order to serve this market. Just one last information. Designing the kitchen, besides the food processing equipment, is also needs an expertise, because if you design the kitchen correctly, you will have less people, less labor in order to work in the kitchen. If you have less space, you will pay less space for the rentals. You will have more space in the restaurant for putting the tables. All of this knowledge under the umbrella of TUSIT for more than 30 years is serving the world. And we would like to continue with serving India with this tool. I would like to thank you again for all the opportunity. And I give you the floor back, Mr. Hussein.
Thank you very much, Güçlü Bey. You almost covered all parts of food processing industry, also food servicing industry. It is very nice, and I didn't expect these figures. And also, you really mentioned about being sustainable is very crucial for food industry, and India is really upgrading manufacturing technologies. And we will see in Mr. Naranayan's presentation how India is trying to upgrade the food processing industry, how food processing companies can be effective, can be efficient in terms of machinery, and also in terms of design. He will mention it. Thank you. Now, I'm giving the floor to Mr. Narayanan from Next Time company. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining us here. Thank you, Consulate General of Turkey in Mumbai, for giving us this opportunity, for having such a wonderful platform and stage to interact with Turkish companies today. Today, I will talk about the food processing and food processing machinery sector in India. While most of you are familiar with the key aspects, I can extend the impression further. And in case there are any questions, you could also come back to me later and we could answer that to the best of our capabilities. I think reason why we are saying is Think India, because let's begin by understanding some of the current dynamics that are making international business thinking of India. There are various factors that contribute to India's current journey. We really have a very diversified market and the growth opportunities are numerous. As the figures on the left side demonstrate, we have a population of 1.4 billion people, and it's one of the, firmly stands as the 5th largest, and it's one of the fastest growing economies worldwide. So that clearly is a clear enough reason to look at India in a very attractive manner. Also, numerous factors contribute to India's journey to becoming an attractive business destination. There's been a liberalization of the entire Indian regulatory framework, has enhanced India's attractiveness as a potential destination for foreign investors. Whereas globally, FDI fell by 1%, the FDI in India grew by 18%. So I think that itself is a staggering figure at a very gross overall level. The urban population is growing in India, and because of this, the opportunities as well. We are seeing that by about 2050, 50% of India would become urban. So that itself shows tremendous opportunities that are there, which would sort of drive consumption of food and food processing equipment going along with it. India is also now the 5th largest FDI recipient globally and is expected to attract even more, double the investments in the next 5 years. we are also home to some of the Turkish companies. Yildiz Holdings, which owns the McVitie's brand, is amongst the top 5 bakery, cookie manufacturer in the country with the brands of McVitie's, and they continue to grow handsomely. And also, I should add that there have been Indian entrepreneurs who have sort of worked with chefs in Turkey and introduced Indians to your world famous baklavas. So we all relish it, we enjoy it, and I'm sure there is a lot much more to offer more than baklava that you have. We clearly have those opportunities. So the domestic consumption is one of the key drivers for India's economic growth. So with 1.4 billion people, 50% likely to be urban in the next 10-15 years, all of that is sort of puts more consumer spending power in the hands of the people, and that sort of helps in driving consumption and so on. So looking at specifically the India advantage, can put the next slide. Yeah, over the last decade, we have tremendous developments in infrastructure, tax reforms, regulatory, skilled labor deployment, and digitization. So in ease of doing business, we've really moved up the whole ranking. India has also the sharpest rise amongst Asian economies in terms of the World Competitiveness Index. And Indian regulations have become more investor welcoming and therefore has led to strong FDI flow which has come in. In addition, the government has also introduced a number of schemes which sort of helps further investment in these various sectors. We'll move to the next slide. We're looking at a number of key initiatives, incentives, and we follow a federal structure. So there are a set of incentives offered by the central government. In addition, for specific targeted industries, there is also additional state level incentives which are offered. Clearly, again, there are definite opportunities available. Financial consideration and return on investment becomes also critical. So for instance, India follows, as I said, federal structure. About a 15% tax rate, there are tax exemptions available, and also certain sectors for up to 15 years. And there are also production-linked incentives which go up to about 40%, capex subsidies, relaxation of import duties, export incentives, and so on and so forth. Really, number of incentives are really available. To give an example, also many states in the area of being federally competitive, they offer reduced registration timeline. So virtually within 30 days, all clearances are got and they are able to apply for the incentives and get significantly benefit from the whole thing. So we have a number of incentives like the production linked incentive scheme for food processing industry. The Prime Minister Kisan Sampada Yojana is again about 7.2 billion which has been allocated to it. It's again creation of small infrastructure, modern infrastructure and efficient supply chain management from farm gate to retail. So this is somewhere I think where even companies and equipment manufacturers from Turkey can really help in contributing to this and sort of building their own this one as well. In addition, we have other incentives for the food processing sector to improve farm productivity, better utilization of resources, and so on. And also, the food processing sector has been given very high priority by the government as is one of the most critical links for the agri value chain. Almost 60 to 70% of Indians are employed in agriculture, and this has direct impact in terms of uplifting them and increasing their average income. So in addition, under the Prime Minister's scheme, there are 41 mega parks, 356 cold chain projects, 68 agro processing clusters, 320 proposals under creation, expansion of food processing. So clearly, food processing is one of the key sectors which the government is focusing on to build competitiveness in India. Now coming to the Turkey-India story, let's talk a little about one slide about the relationship that we've had. I'm glad to share that in 2022, it marks the 75th year of establishment of the diplomatic relations between India and Turkey. Turkey and bilateral trade has crossed over $10 billion. FDI from Turkey has almost doubled in the last 5 years from 1.39 billion to 2.16 billion. And a lot of areas of imports that we clearly see is gold, marble, stones, iron and steel, oil seeds, inorganic chemicals, and so on. So that clearly is a large segment which is there, but I think this can further get doubled and tripled as we go forward. The top 5 items imported include sugar, sugar confectionery, coffee, tea, edible vegetables, tobacco, animal vegetable fats, so on, and a number of other food products as far as the bilateral trade which is concerned. Now let us take a look at give you a window of what the food processing sector in India looks like. Food consumption in India is expected to triple in the next 5 years because, as I said, rapid urbanization is happening. And so India's food processing sector is already one of the largest and is expected to reach about 535 billion by 25-26 over the next 3 years. Cumulative FDI in the food processing sector is about $8.5 billion, growing up to about 11 billion currently. FDI equity again in the food processing sector is about 0.7 billion. So overall, as you see, in terms of attractiveness, we've been attracting a lot of major players from across the world into India to come and do business with India, create made in India products, as well as for domestic consumption, as well as for the export market. If you look at imports into India, from about roughly 7.3 billion, we've got exports instead, we are at about 11, clearly showing the opportunity which is there. Now, this is at the overall food processing sector level. Let me just briefly touch upon the top 6 sectors within food processing, which might be of interest to all of you sitting over there. So very clearly, dairy milk production is one of our largest sectors. India is today the world's largest producer of milk, and it has been growing even despite that size and being the largest, it is still growing at about 6.2%. So that really is the size and scale of opportunity in the dairy segment. Growth rate of 6%, and it's going to reach about 210 million tons. That's the sort of scale which is there currently, expected to grow up to about close to 150 million tons by 2014. So that is one of the big sectors. Fruits and vegetables is another large sector. Exports were up 12%. India is #1 or #2 in the world in many of the fruits and vegetables. But currently, a lot of it is getting consumed as fresh, or hardly any processing is really happening. I'll touch upon that. So that's where a large opportunity, there is a lot of wastage which happens. So in terms of converting that into process, reducing wastage, giving better yields to farmers, it's a large opportunity that is we can offer over there. Similarly, exports of meat, dairy and poultry products increased by about 11% and valued at about 3.9 billion. So it's again a very large industry that we have. The value of the Indian poultry egg sector is again about 5.9 billion. India ranks 8th in meat production, and we produced about 8.7 million metric tons of meat during 2021. So that clearly are the various subsegments in the food processing segment that we have. Now let's take a look at the food processing machinery market in India. So very clearly established, we are one of the largest food processing sector opportunity that presents in the world today. Now, so food processing machinery cannot also lag behind. So if you take a look at the chart in terms of the numbers that we are presenting, if you look at the global chart over there, which is divided into 3 parts of North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and the Latin America, Middle East market. Over here again, if you see, India is one of the fastest growing markets. They are in the top few countries as far as machinery exports and imports are concerned, trade is concerned, and we are expected to reach about 2.2 billion by next year. And the CAGR of growing at almost 5-6%. So which is the highest CAGR grown amongst all countries in the world. So that clearly goes to show the opportunity which is there. And as I said, food processing growing at about 8%, almost double digit in all the major categories. Food processing machinery cannot lag behind. And there are major players operating in India, who are American companies, your Tetra Pak, Alfa Laval, Krones, John Beebe, Buller, GEA, all of them are already operating in India, and it really presents a major opportunity for various companies to come set up shop in India and do business. Now, moving further from the overall general food processing machinery into the specific subsectors within food processing, which could be of interest to you. I can say that really depositors and mixers are collectively about almost 40% of Indian food processing machinery, with almost each of them about 22 and 18, 19%. So that's a big segment which we are talking of, almost 1/5 of it being depositors and mixers. Similarly, we've got extruding machines, slicers, dicers, which are again growing rapidly all across. So there again, we see large opportunity. And then extruding machines are also further expected to grow this one. Now, looking at each of these sectors specifically, so if you look at depositors, in the last 5 years, this sector has grown at 40%, almost over 8% per year. It is almost growing. This is something, as all of you are aware of, and since you know this business much better, it is required across the entire food processing sector. But only challenge over here, what I can add is that you need to ensure that it meets the local requirements with products with multiple densities, etc. So I think the moment if you are able to find technological solutions, and we already have a large raw processing fruits and vegetable market, all that can be processed into value-added products, and we'll be able to build on that. Extruding machines has grown at 55% in the last 5 years, more than double-digit growth. And here again, one of the largest segments is the snacking segment, where almost 1/3 of the $8 billion market is extruded snacks in the country. Very popular. India is a savory snacking market, very large opportunity over here. And again, we have a plethora of locally available grains apart from rice and wheat. We've got corn, we've got the millets, a variety of other ingredients, locally available grains and cereals, all of which can be used for extruding, and they are all used in the making of the extruded snacks. Similarly, on mixers, it's again wide variety of applications which are clearly there: dry blending, wet blending, all of it. Again, spices again is one of the large category consumers for mixers, and spice, as all of you know, India is in the leading position in the world. And next to be done, and 45% growth we are seeing in refrigeration, which is again very, very high. As I rightly said, almost 80–90% of fruits and vegetables consumed are consumed fresh. So there's a huge opportunity to use the benefits of the cold chain and build either through chilled or frozen a lot of value added, ready to cook, ready to eat, processed fruit and vegetables. All of that is required. Dairy and bakery are large segments. They would again require a lot of refrigeration equipment, etc. That is over there. Similarly, the slicers and dicers, which is again 40% of agricultural output is wasted. And this is clearly required for primary processing of fruits and vegetables. So that's the other thing which is there. And again, there are a lot of local Indian food which requires customized solutions. So I think if there are some similarities, studying the Indian market and tapping the right opportunity clearly has, I think, very, very large opportunities as far as the food service processing equipment manufacturers are concerned. So just to move further on, just to see that how does NextDime fits into this whole puzzle of food processing machinery and what we do. We clearly see NextDime, our capabilities are, we've got thought leadership as far as food processing sector is concerned. Just 3 months back in the month of September, along with the leading Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we came out with a white paper on food processing sector in India, opportunities and challenges. This has a full detailed analysis of the whole market, different subsegments, what are the key challenges, and all of that is readily available. In case any of you would like to have a copy of the report, please do message and you can easily send it across. You can download it and you'll be able to use it. It covers a full overview of also the investment landscape, the regulatory regime, the incentives, the initiatives available for business in the sector. A very important report. We just got this one. So clearly NextDime has thought leadership as far as the food processing capabilities in this industry are concerned. And in addition, who are we NextDime? Let's go to the next slide, please. We are, as an organization, in terms of we facilitate international expansion into India. It's an award-winning, employee-owned global business advisory service. And then where we start looking at FDI coming into India since 1990. We understand the space very well and have helped numerous businesses establish and expand their local presence. Our expertise is industry agnostic. We support businesses in medical device, etc., etc. But clearly, medical device and food processing is our core sectors where we've helped a number of companies to come set up in India and start and do operation. We've been recognized among the leading tax and transfer pricing also firms by Euromoney for over 10 years now. So we are clearly a global partner, but provided integrated solutions. Here, as you can see, we've got in terms of business services as well as professional services. We offer an literally end-to-end, starting from market research, identification of partner, to sort of understanding the government requirements, ensuring that all the compliances are met with, and then subsequently also once you start operation, leaving you to focus on the business, the entire back-end processing in terms of finance, coverage, all of that, taxation, all of that is really taken care of by NextDam. So we at NextDam, we are a multidisciplinary global organization. We have over 6 decades of experience, and we service small, medium, large conglomerates, including Fortune 500 companies to also the smallest of firms. So, and then we are present from almost 50 countries. So if you have any more questions on NextDam, etc., please feel to ask us, and we should be in a position to sort of help you and guide you over the next steps. So thank you very much. And I think we'll now open it for any questions which really come our way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Narayan. Even though sometimes India market, understanding India market being difficult, but India can be a very well alternative market for our Turkish companies. And also during the webinar, during the presentation, Indian government, we have understood the Indian government is promoting manufacturing in India.
Yes.
And also organizing different incentives from general incentives to sectoral focused incentive. However, all these incentives are an opportunity for our Turkish companies, for our Turkish food processing machinery companies. And also you have mentioned what are the potential subcategories in India, and we know our Turkish companies are doing very well, not only in grain grinding categories, but also in meat processing machineries and cold storage machineries.
Yes.
And actually, this knowledge and this expertise can easily be tapped in India market for our companies. Now, I want to thank you all panelists, Güçlü Bey, Burçangan Bey, my colleagues Evren Bey, and also Mr. Narayanan.
Thank you.
Every panelist try to cover the topic very well and very concisely. And also Mr. Narayanan showed Indian food processing market and food processing industry very well, and we are aware of the potential. We are aware of the market size. Just before closing, maybe I can have one more question.
Sure.
To Mr. Narayan. To sum up the session in resonation with our webinar topic, what are the 3 key emerging trends that should be considered by Turkish food business, corporates, or startups alike that have India on their mind? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I think very clearly in terms of opportunities, as I said, I mean, it's a large market, growing market, and a lot of new trends, etc., are also coming in. But at the same time, when you see we don't do much of primary, secondary, or tertiary processing. So whereas our agricultural output is large, there is tremendous scope for growth over there. So one is the area who could be in terms of looking at the whole growth in the agricultural area. So it could be seeds, it could be equipment, all of that could clearly form one piece which is there. The second most important thing is converting those fresh fruits and vegetables into processed food. So whatever help in terms of processing which is required over there, that could be another very large area what we are looking at in terms of growth, which is critical. Because only once when we start growing the whole processing segment, will we be able to address the larger customers which are there across the entire segment and which are demanding such processed food which is required. The third important thing from there is that clearly the market is growing, and there are a big post-COVID particularly, we are seeing a lot of functional, people are getting more into functional food and getting more health conscious, etc. So those sectors also would really be sort of people are looking at opportunities, solutions, healthy. I mean, just for instance, we just heard of hawthorn vinegar. I mean, if that is better than apple cider vinegar, which is currently the most popular, then I guess that clearly is an opportunity one can clearly look at and sort of build on that. So clearly in terms of this whole functional health, better for you food, etc., which is clearly there. And any help assistance in the entire supply chain from farm to fork, so whichever, wherever, based on your local experiences, if you've been able to provide breakthrough solutions, etc., I think all that is clearly welcome. And I would really say the sky is the limit in terms of opportunities that really the markets are presenting.
Yes, thank you. And also we as the trade offices of Turkish Ministry of Trade in India, based in India, we have 2 offices in Mumbai and Delhi. We are always open for communication with our Turkish companies. When they have any inquiries, they can always can connect with us through different mechanisms. And also, whenever you come to India to participate in any exhibition, you are most welcome, and we can connect with you at any time. And we will be happy to visit you in your exhibitions when you come to India. Overall, with this webinar, I hope some perceptions have changed from our Turkish companies, food processing machinery companies into India market, because the rising trend is very evident, and all other countries, I mean, Japan is here, Germany is here, the US is here, they are also coming to invest also to tap the domestic market.
Yes.
Just before closing, one more example from Unilever, global brand in FMCG product, FMCG category, as you know. For Unilever, India is one of the most profitable country across the world in this year. So, I mean, you can easily understand the potential here. Thank you very much again for your valuable time, for our panelists, and for the whole participants. Now we are closing the session. I wish you good day in our country, and also good evening to Mr. Narayanan and Next Time team. Thank you.
Yeah, I think thank you very much for providing this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hussein and Evren Bey.
Yeah, and wish you all a happy new year ahead.
Yes, happy new year to all.
Happy new year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.